Well, I know we talked about this a little bit last week. So in California right now, there's all these crazy fires. I don't know if you've looked at it at school or at home and all that. And it's crazy because I saw these pictures of entire neighborhoods that were completely burned down. Like where there used to be houses, there's nothing left. And I was like, that's insane. I've never seen a fire do that before. So I was reading some stuff, and then I read this story this week about a couple. And so they went to bed and at 10 o'clock at night. And after they had gone to sleep, the fire changed direction and was coming towards where they lived. And they didn't know. And so but finally they got woke up from a phone call from a family member, and they said, are you still home? And they're like, yeah. I said, you've got to get out. And so they go and look out the window, and they can see all the glow. It's just an orange glow. And so they get in their car, and they start trying to drive one way. It's blocked. They can't go that way. It's all fire. They go the other way. It's all fire. They cannot get out because there's fire in every direction. Now, this would be very scary, okay? And you're thinking, roads don't burn, but flames are so high, and there's so much smoke they go over the roads. So this is their situation. So they go home, and they're waiting, and so the fire comes to their neighborhood, to their house. It's on fire, so they go out and they get in the swimming pool. Okay, I don't know if you heard about this. Apparently, it was really cold, the swimming pool, and they had to stay underwater. So because it's so hot. If you went to the fall retreat two years ago, we built this bonfire to make s'mores, except we made it too big. Okay, normally you make for s'mores is we made it this tall. Okay, and so it was so hot. Everyone was going trying to get, and it was burning your skin off, and it was this big, okay? And you couldn't get within 10, 15 feet of that thing. It was so hot. Now, you can imagine an entire house, okay, how hot that would be. So they had to stay underwater, okay? And so they would just come up, get a breath, and then go back underwater for 6 hours until the house burned completely down and the heat moved on. So they had to stay underwater for 6 hours, and they made it. It was just an incredible, incredible story. And as I've seen all that, and we mentioned last week, we all know that at one point, it was about this big, right? I mean, that's crazy to me that this caused all of that. Something that seems so small at first, right, can cause so much trouble. And so we looked at this verse in James that said, James chapter 3, that says this, consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. A huge forest, huge neighborhoods, all of that can burn from a small spark. But he's not just giving us useful information, okay? He's making a point, and he says, the tongue also is a fire. It corrupts the whole person and sets the whole course of his life on fire. Your tongue may be small. In other words, it's talking about your words. It's not your literal tongue is setting your life on fire. Okay, your words can literally burn your life, okay? Can really, really mess you up. And some of you have experienced that already. Okay, you've gotten in trouble. A lot of you just said you got in trouble from your words. And they can set your life on fire. They can also take your life in a different direction. There are verses that talk about how it can send your life in a good direction. And so your words are powerful. With your words, you can start a relationship, right? Would you be my girlfriend, right? What do y'all say now? Would you go out with me? Whatever, all right? Or it can end a relationship. It's not you, it's me, right? Which really means it's you. Okay, anyways, it can end a relationship, right? With your words, you can hurt somebody or you can make them feel better. With your words, you can get yourself in trouble or you can get yourself out of trouble sometimes with your words, okay? With your words, you can speak faith and see God move in your life, or you can speak doubt and restrict God's moving in your life. Do you realize that it's even with your words that you confess that Jesus is your Lord and are saved for eternity? It's with your words. Your words can do some pretty powerful things in your life. And so we're talking about our words. I think you can probably finish this statement. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Have you heard that before? Okay, is that not the dumbest statement you've ever heard, right? First of all, if you have friends that are hitting you with sticks and stones, you need new friends, right? Because if you're regularly getting hit by a stick or a stone, there's something wrong in your life that needs to be adjusted. This is not something that I hope that you're dealing with. Yeah, man, every day somebody hits me with a rock. Okay, that shouldn't be normal with your life. And yes, they would certainly hurt. I'm not saying that. but all of us have experienced words that hurt. And to say that words don't hurt is kind of dumb because they hurt and they can hurt for a really long time, right? And I know what they're trying to say with the statement, like you shouldn't let words hurt you, but they do, don't they? They do hurt. In fact, sometimes we can forget a physical pain. Like you may have tripped and fallen when you were young. You don't even think about it anymore. You may have got punched in the face one time and it hurt for a while, but you kind of moved on. But some of you can remember a word or a sentence, something that your mom said or your dad said or your friend said years ago. And when you think about it, it still hurts. Because the words are powerful. Words can cause pain. They can help. They can hurt. They're a big deal. And so we're talking about our words. And today I want to talk about specifically whether or not we are tearing people down, cutting people down, or building people up with our words. Are you a criticizer or an encourager? Are you dealing out hurt, or are you dealing hope? Dealing hope, not ope, but hope. Hopefully you're not dealing ope. Dealing hope, okay? So what are you dealing? What is your words doing? That's what we were going to talk about. So I want to show you guys a very popular verse that you probably heard. Most everybody has heard this verse. And then we're going to look at the next one. Okay, it's in Galatians chapter 5. So Paul is the guy who's writing this. He writes it to the church in Galatia. And he says this, and at least part of this verse you're going to have heard before. The entire law is summed up in a single command. Love your neighbor as yourself. Now, you've probably heard, love your neighbor as yourself, or maybe do to others as you want them to do to you. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's really important. That's like the command that sums it all up, he says. Now, look at the next one. If you keep on biting and devouring each other, watch out, or you'll be destroyed by each other. And it says, don't keep biting and devouring. Now, he's not talking to toddlers. Y'all stop biting now, okay? This is not some cannibal culture. Y'all need to stop devouring each other, okay? Stop it. Now, I mean, I've had to get on to teenagers for a lot of things. I've never had to get on to for biting yet. Now, some of you, it might not be a thing, but I've never had to be like, y'all can't bite during service. Please stop. You pointing at her? Okay, so maybe that's an issue I need to start dealing with. But it's not usually a thing, okay? I did have a youth pastor friend. He had a student at youth camp was eating crickets to impress girls. He's so confused in life. And so he's like, he keeps eating crickets, and he had to have this conversation. Young man, you can't keep eating crickets. Like it's just words you never think is going to come out of your mouth as a youth pastor, but he had to, okay? Now, I've never had to tell people to stop biting or like eating each other. That would be really disturbing. That's obviously not what he's talking about. The way that we bite and devour and hurt each other is typically with our words. We can hurt, we can bite, we can tear people down with the stuff that we say. And all of us, including me, hate to be criticized. You don't like it when somebody tears you down, criticizes you, tell you how wrong you are, how messed up you are. Nobody likes that. Now, but we don't feel bad about doing it to other people because they deserve it, right? We think, well, if they weren't so dumb, I wouldn't have to criticize them. Okay, if she wasn't so slow, I wouldn't have to criticize. If he wasn't so thick, I wouldn't have to criticize. If she would just go a little faster and get out of the bathroom, I wouldn't have to criticize. If he could just do his homework, I wouldn't have to criticize. I mean, come on. She posted that on Instagram. What did she think we were going to say? I mean, come on. I mean, it's their fault. Look at what they're doing wrong. If they would just get it together, then I wouldn't have. We see all these problems, and we don't feel bad about criticizing because it seems like, well, they deserve it. They're messing up really bad. And so we criticize, we tear down. But here's the thing I want you to catch first of all. This verse about not biting and devouring each other is right after that greatest command. In fact, it's a way that we need to think about fulfilling that. And that we should not be tearing people down. It's important. If you're a believer, you can't be tearing people down, devouring each other, being critical of each other. Another thing you don't realize maybe is it does a whole lot of harm to your relationships. Some of you have been harmed by it, right? Some of you maybe feel distant from a family member because they always criticize you and they always tear you down, so you don't like to be around them. Because when you're around them, you feel that. So you feel distant from them. And what you may not realize is that somebody in your life may think of you as having one of these. And every time I see them, it's like whack. Every time I see them, it feels like I just got smacked with a rock. Now, you're not carrying around weapons, I hope, and hitting your sister, all right? Or your dad, or your mom, or your friend. But there may be somebody in your life that because of your words, they don't want to be around you because your words feel like this. They feel like a stick and a stone that you're hitting them with. And so we want to be careful about our words. They hurt your relationship. Some of you are not close to your mom or your dad because you're so criticizing of them. They feel, can you believe your parents have feelings? And they feel hurt by you. Parents have feelings? What? Yeah. And so we need to learn to not be critical. So we're going to talk about our words and how that we cannot be critical. And I'm going to show you some really important stuff because it's all through the Bible. We can look in the Old Testament, the New Testament, all around it talks about how we talk to each other. Here's a great example. Do not let any unwholesome talk, we'll talk about that, what that is, come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs in a way that may benefit those who listen. Can you say build up? Turn to somebody next to you and say, build up. That's right. Build up. Building up. I also like the way it says this. What is helpful? Here's a great question. Are the words that I'm saying building somebody up? Are they helpful? Or are they what he would call unwholesome talk? Stuff that is tearing down, stuff that is hurting. Because we're really good at being fault finders, I think. We can really find fault in just about anybody, just about anything. You know, I don't like the way he does that. I don't even like the way she walks. Can you believe she walks like that? I hate the way he eats. Is there somebody you hate the way they eat? You know what I'm talking about? I can't even stand the way she breathes. Her breathing is so annoying, okay? Some of your sibling, you're like, would you stop breathing like that? It's like they can't even breathe right, okay? We can find fault. I can't believe she posted that on Instagram. I mean, she says she loves Jesus, but it looks like she loves her body, okay? It's like, I can't believe this. And so we find fault, and what do we do when we find fault? When we find fault, we criticize. Now, I have to tell you, this entire series is so convicting for me because I struggle. I told you last week how much I struggle with complaining, and I've been working on that. In fact, just earlier I was talking to a couple of the guys in the back of the room, and I started to complain about something. I said, I'm just going to have to stand quietly now because I have nothing else to say because I caught myself starting to complain, okay? And I did. I just had to shut up. So criticizing is a thing too, okay? And so it was a little while ago. I was standing by this door back here. I think I was talking to Mr. Lewis. And I looked over, and there was this girl and her friend, and they were standing over here at the front. This was on a Sunday night. And they were taking pictures. And so the one girl gave her phone. And I'm not going to demonstrate because it'd be totally awkward, but you know, she kind of was turning and sticking her butt towards the camera. And so I'm sitting here going, are you taking a booty shot in the youth hall? Is this happening right now? And I'm watching him do this, and she's all, she's all doing this pose. And so what did I immediately start to do? Can you believe that? Look at her over there. She looks totally ridiculous. What does she get all of her self-worth from the guys online? They're going to go, ooh, nice picture and all. And I'm just, and I was right, okay? But it was criticizing. Of course, I actually also said, you know what would be really funny is if I went over there and stood next to her and did the same pose. Totally wreck her picture. But here's what we do. We see somebody, we find fault, and then we criticize. And we put down, whether we do it to their face or we do it behind their back, it's something that most of us do on a regular basis. And it's not something that should be a part of our life. It should be something that we cut out. And so I'm trying to cut it out. And this is the deal, though. And we talked about this a little last week. It's a heart issue. The reason that I do it is for one of two reasons. One, I'm prideful. I'm smarter. I'm better. I wouldn't do that. I know what I'm talking about. And you wrong people just need me to fix you, okay? That's one attitude. And if you're criticizing people a lot and you're talking down about other people, you need to go, is that my attitude? Because if it's not that, it's the other one, which is this. I feel like I've messed up, like I'm low, so I want to bring you down too. In fact, if you've been criticized and put down from other people, it's usually by people that want to pull you down with them. See, they don't feel good about themselves, so they want to make sure you don't feel good about yourself either. And that way they try to elevate themselves. So it's a heart issue. It's insecurity. Maybe it's the opposite. It's pride. But there's something in me that thinks I need to tear people down when I find fault. And so we want to get rid of those attitudes that thing that makes me think if you're doing wrong, I need to point it out. We think it makes us look better too. We think like, oh yeah, I look good because I talked about how bad they were. That shouldn't be the way it is. And it doesn't make you look better, it makes you look like a jerk. And you know what? This is really true. Nobody likes somebody or wants to be around somebody that's always criticizing them. And if you're always criticizing other people, eventually you're going to be criticizing them. People just, you don't want to be around. I've never looked at somebody that was criticizing and said, boy, I want to be just like them. Boy, I wish I could put down people like them. No, that's never been like a life goal. And that's not the way that we want to be. So there are times when someone is doing a wrong and we do want to say something. Okay, now, a lot of the times you just need to shut your mouth. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. But there are times when you want to say something. So let me give you an example of when you want to say something, okay? So here's a verse in Hebrews that says this. See to it, brothers, that none of you has a sinful, unbelieving heart that turns away from the living God. So he's talking about, hey, you've got your people around you, and some of them may have a sinful heart. They're living wrong. So you look at your friend, and they're sinning. I don't know what they're doing. They're talking nasty. They're doing some stupid stuff. They're bragging about what they're doing with your girlfriend. You're like, that is definitely a sin, okay? And so they're, whatever it is, and so they're sinning. They're doing wrong. Now, the tendency is to do one or two things. Criticize them, most likely behind their back, right? Through the face or most likely behind their back. So talk about, can you believe that she's doing that? She was at church yesterday, okay? Okay, so that's the normal way. But this is what it says to do. But encourage one another daily, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. Here's the word, encourage, to strengthen, to encourage. Now, not to completely ignore what they're doing, but to encourage, to give them strength to do what is right. And there are times when we want to encourage other believers to do what is right. Now, encourage them. That doesn't mean encourage them to keep doing what they're doing wrong. Hey, you're doing a great job smoking pot, man. Yeah, do it. I bet you can do more. No, that's not what we're talking about. Okay, we're encouraging them to do right. So maybe you have a friend who used to be a part of church and they don't go to church anymore. And they're just kind of falling away. You know what? You could criticize them, but that's not going to help anything. Or you could encourage them. Hey, man, I haven't seen you in a long time at Amplify. It'd be great to have you back. Hey, we miss you. Maybe they'll give you some excuses, and you can encourage them through that. Oh, I just have so much homework, and I'm so stressed right now. Oh, yeah, when I get stressed, church really helps me. I bet it would help you too. Encourage them. Not, well, you're just, a sinner, heathen, right? And I don't know what you would say. Yeah, you could put them down for not coming, but that would be silly. You need to encourage people. So we want to encourage, we want to build up, and stream. Let me show you one more. This verse, this is the last verse we're going to look at, is just a great example of the two that you can do. You can strengthen, you can build up, or you can cut or tear down. Look at what it says. This is in Proverbs. Some people like to make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise soothe and heal. So you've got cutting remarks, and you got those that soothe and heal. So your words can either help people, like healing, like soothing. You can think about if you have a wound and it's soothed, it's healed. Or they can cut. They can cut down. They can make feel worse. So I'm going to assume for a second that you're not a jerk. Okay, I'm going to assume for a moment. Now, some of you may be, but what I mean by that is that you don't just look for people to tear down. You don't just get that thrill. You're not, I'm going to walk around and make as many people feel bad as I can. If you do, you just need to give your life to Jesus and let him change your heart, and that'll be really great for you. But I'm going to assume right now that you're not a jerk, but what happens is you see stuff wrong and you correct wrong. Okay, so I want to talk about how that we do this right. Okay. Well, first of all, if somebody is doing something wrong, whatever it is, they're just being stupid, okay? Or they're just doing wrong. And you do not want to help. Remember how we read earlier, it says what is helpful, to only say what is helpful. If your desire is not to help them, then just keep your mouth shut. That's the answer. Stop talking. If your words are not going to help them start down the right path, then shut your mouth and don't say anything. And I know what some of you will have to do. All day. You won't have anything else to say because that's all we can do is criticize and complain and do all those things. So if you're not wanting to help, shut your mouth. But if you are wanting to help, it's very important how we do it. So it says some people have cutting words. Now, if I was to take something like this, okay, a nice knife, and if I was to come at the front row, She's starting to lean back a little bit. Okay. Now, if somebody comes at you with a knife, well, the first thing you're going to try and do is get away, right? Run away. Now, if you can't, see, he's running now. If you can't get away, what you're going to do is you're going to, what? You're going to defend. Like, if I'm stuck in a corner, okay, I'm going to try and keep him away from my vital organs or something. Okay, I'm just going to, okay. Now, let me ask you a question. Does this look like somebody that's ready to receive from you? No, absolutely not. This is somebody that's, and if our words are cutting, if our words are criticizing, if our words are hateful and hurtful, they're not going to be receiving from you. So if you're, let's just, say someone was walking and they tripped and fell, okay? And here they are, they're wiped out on the ground. And you come up and your words are like, get up, okay? What are you doing laying on the ground? You need to stand. Okay, now, they'll probably stand up. Does this look like the way Jesus would have been? Like, get up, all right, now. No. Again, that's going to cause that kind of reaction. What they need is a hand, a reaching down. And when you reach down, what you usually get back is the reaching back. Okay? And this is welcoming. This is somebody that's receiving help from you. See, you can encourage change. Do you realize that? Through encouraging words, you can bring change. See, when I was in college, there was this girl I started talking to, and she was not the right girl for me, except I was been single for a long time. She was at least cute and funny, and I didn't really care that she wasn't the right kind of person for me. And so we just started hanging out all the time, and it was just heading towards a relationship, right? So my best friend, Justin, was my roommate. He comes up to me finally, and he says, hey, man, I just want to talk to you about this girl. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, you know that she's not right for you, right? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I knew it. And this was, he said, you don't have to feel like you got to stick with somebody just because you haven't dated anybody in a while. And I was like, yeah. And then when he did this, he encouraged me. Now, I didn't actually listen. I listened. I didn't take his advice for another few weeks. But what happened is it's just stuck in there, right? And his encouraging and then staying as a friend stayed there and built up. Now, if he would have just come at me and just talking about how I was all wrong, and right, it would have been totally different. In fact, it probably would have damaged our friendship. But instead, we were closer because he encouraged me and strengthened me to do the right thing. So you can encourage change. It's very difficult to cut to change or to criticize change. Well, let me say it this way. You can cut somebody till they'll change, right? I mean, if I start cutting you, you'll eventually do what I want you to do, okay? I mean, literally with a knife, you'll eventually obey me because, okay, I'm tired of getting cut. And so some of you beat people into doing what you want them to do. And that is not the way that a believer helps people change. Okay, that's not a good way to bring change, is by cutting. And so we want to do it the right way. When I was a senior in high school, I had a teacher, and that we didn't get along. I don't know if you've ever had a teacher that you and them just didn't get along. So she did not like me. It was a technology class, and I'm a real tech person. Like, I get technology, and it was a brand new class, the first year they offered it, and she didn't really understand the technology. And so like one day in class, she was trying to get something to work, and she goes, well, it doesn't work, it's broken. And I just walked up there and said, 5 seconds later it works, okay? And I go, you just don't know how to use it. Okay, what did I just do with my words? Criticize, okay? You're the teacher, you should know, okay? That kind of stuff. And here's what I started to criticize. And you know what happened? That relationship got bad. And the bad thing is she controlled my grades. And so like she would nitpick everything I did. And I would go home and I would gripe about her every single day. I was like, this teacher is so dumb. She doesn't even know how to do it. And she's giving me a bad grade and I can do it better than she can. What does she think? And I'm just complain, criticize. I talk to my friends bad about her, criticize all the time. Well, when you live with a mom like mine who's like she could be like in the Bible, okay? She finally, one day I'm criticizing, and she says, well, I tell you what you need to do. And I said, okay, tell me. And she goes, you need to pray for her. You mean like pray she'll get fired? No, pray for her. And I was like, ah. And so this is what I started doing. I had a prayer list at the time, so I put her name on there. And every night I would pray, Father, I pray just help her life be good. I pray that she'd be blessed. I pray if she has problems with her marriage, that it would get better. I pray that she would be happy today at school. And I just started to pray for her, and I'm going to tell you what happened. My attitude changed, and I stopped criticizing. And by the end of the year, she liked me, and I liked her, and it was a totally different situation by the end of the year. And it started because I changed my heart by starting to pray for her instead of criticizing, talking bad about her. See, a lot of us have just started to criticize people. We're used to it. It's just our daily life. They did wrong. I'm going to tell y'all how bad they did it. And we should change that. If we make that change, what's going to happen is relationships are going to change. People are going to see. What if every Christian stopped criticizing and just started encouraging? I want to tell you what, people would think about Christians different, wouldn't they? Because that's what we're called to do. We're not called to criticize. We're called to encourage. Your relationships would change. Maybe you need to start praying for your sister, your brother, your mom, whoever it is that's driving you nuts that you talk about all the time. Praying for them and seeing your heart change so that you could stop criticizing. It'll change you. It'll change your life. It'll change your family. Before we end, though, I want to just mention this. Some of you maybe are being criticized. That was not what we really focused on, but you are being torn down maybe by your mom, your dad, someone that you live with. They're telling you that you're worthless, that you're not good enough, that you're always going to mess up, that wow, how come you can't be like this person? You're not good enough. You hear all these things, and it tears you down, and somebody's criticizing you. This is what I want you to hear. You are not what somebody else says you are. You are who your Father in heaven says you are. And he says that you are more than a conqueror. He says that you can do all things through his Son, Jesus, who gives you strength. He says that he has a purpose and a plan for you. He says that you're his son or his daughter, and that he loves you. He says that you have not sinned too much for him to forgive you. So I want you to know you're valuable. You have a purpose. And if you're being criticized, have hope that your Father, your Heavenly Father, loves you and has a plan for you. And set aside those criticisms. We're going to end tonight with prayer. And if you need prayer for anything that's going on in your life, maybe you're being criticized and you need your heart to be renewed. Maybe you have a criticizing mouth and you want to pray that that will start to change, that your heart will start to change. Or you can pray about anything else that's going on in your life. You've got something going on at school, at home, whatever. We'd love to pray with you. I'm going to pray a quick prayer, and when I'm done, when I say amen, we'll all stand together. We're going to sing part of a song. And at that time, there'll be people at the back of the room, other people your age who love to pray with you. And they're going to pray with you about what's going on in your life. Father, we thank you that you love us. Lord, I pray that you would help us to not have a criticizing, tearing down, cutting mouth, but to be people who love others, build others up, strengthen and encourage. I pray that you would just speak to all of us. Lord, Holy Spirit, draw anyone that needs you today. In Jesus' name, amen.